Today, I'm in a mood to show you another very interesting option that we can play against the move e4, e5. DrChessRob is here. Welcome to my chess clinic. The idea to surprise your opponents in the opening is not new. We're trying to search for that almost for an eternity in chess. Started probably in like 16th century when people started to understand the theory more and more and more, and eventually we understood what are like the main lines, classical lines in several openings. But also sometimes we're trying to be a bit naughty to surprise them and to get them out of their usual path. That's why we're not going to talk about the Italian, French, I don't know, Brie Lopez, Scotch, which can happen like after e5. French defense will not, but those can. The others can. So the move is pawn to d4. You can check that Vienna is really interesting too. You can see it in the other videos on my YouTube channel. d4 center game. First of all, it's a surprise. You will try to get your opponent out of the theory. So this can work pretty well. And if you played the Scandinavian defense ever, which is e4, d5 takes, and then queen captures d5 as black, then you can understand what we're trying to do here as white. What's the side effect? We will bring our queen out, and we can be in trouble because it's going to attack our queen. So after e takes d4, we're going to go with the move queen captures d4. But before that, let's try to understand what can we do against some passive options that black can go for. They can play like d6. We just play knight f3 and then let's say knight e7, which will be like a Philidor. We'll not talk about it. So for at least for now, bishop c4 is there, and then short castle in some positions like knight g5. So black can play the move d5, try to get some counterattack, but after d takes, queen d8 check, we'll try to get his king out from the castling option first, and then knight c3 or bishop g5 check. White's position is much better. If black plays knight c6 to defend the pawn with the knight, not with the pawn, you can capture, play either immediate f4 or just simple knight f3 takes queen f3. Our position is much better because we have better development. We developed the queen already. Our bishop can get to c4 and attack, and we have the center. Why not? So the main line, which like 95% of the players will play against you, is e takes d4. And we capture with the queen. Knight f3 will be the Scotch gambit. c3, which is very naughty, and I will definitely do the videos about the Danish gambit as well. 100% is going to come later. So, but knight f3, we will cover it as well. So queen takes d4, the real center game. Knight goes to c6. When I said about what are the side effects of it, it's the fast, very early development of the queen. We can be in trouble. For example, we play queen c3, taking the square from the knight, bishop b4. Great job. Resign and go home, quit chess. I'm just kidding. This can happen to anybody. So just be careful with such moves. Know where the queen needs to go in order to be the safest. Pseudo active move, I call it false activity, is the move bishop queen d5, and we can dream like, oh, I'm gonna play like bishop c4, then attack, and then checkmate on f7. Your dreams will be broken immediately, instantly, destroyed after the move. Knight f6. You need to wake up and say, okay, I messed it up, I need to jump back to a safe spot. So queen a4 is not that good because the queen will get to the corner. There's always like a6, b5 at some point. I don't like this move. I don't like passive moves, queen d1. So why we played d4 center game in order to play passive? Definitely not. We want to have some fun. So that's why we need to play the move queen e3. Queen d3 is another interesting option, but the main problem is the move pawn d5. And if we capture with the pawn, then knight b4, double attack. And if queen e4 check, queen e7 takes knight e7, now black's position is a bit better because he has a double attack who will get one of the pawns. We can't defend because we will lose our rook after the check. So the knight aims for the rook and the king at the same time. And if we defend somehow, white's position is a bit worse because he has better development in a symmetrical pawn structure. If we capture with the queen, queen takes, knight b4, same story. Bishop b5, bishop d7 takes, knight a3, knight d5. Black is absolutely fine at it. So this is why I want to play queen e3. At least delay the move d5. You know what's going to happen? A lot of players will say, oh, I'm a bit scared. I don't want to, for him to play any e5 after knight f6. They will play d6. When they do this move, be very happy. Play knight c3. After knight f6, play bishop d2, bishop e7, short, long castle, short castle, and then do either knight e2. We can try to play the move f4. We will see that usually we'll try to do some kind of Yugoslav attack, which is a very, very cool, like one of the main ideas of the Sicilian. But here f4 is going to be quite interesting. Aggressive approach, knight f3, h3, g4, just pushing the pawns. White's position is usually a bit better. If he goes with g6, this is very similar to the Sicilian dragon variation. The plans are the same here. Here, long castle, knight f6 or knight e7. Let's say f3, long castle, h4. We're just going to g4, h5 to open up the h file and try to checkmate our opponent. At some point, bishop h6, try to exchange the dark squared bishops too. I don't want to talk about all of this because most of the players will do knight f6. If e5 there is knight g4, we can't get much out of it. That's why we'll play knight c3. Bishop d2 is another interesting option, but I don't want to confuse you. Just play knight c3. If black plays passive, you know the plan. Bishop d2, long castle, f4 or f3, g4, you'll see. Bishop b4 is the best. Bishop d2, short castle, long castle. We spent tons of time to develop our pieces. We did like 2 moves at least with the queen. Later, we can do some other moves as well. That's why the position can be a bit risky for us. But so many players don't know what to do here as black. They play d6, normal move. Then we do f3. They play bishop e6. Then we play queen e1. The main idea is to jump to h4 at some. a5, knight e2, rook e8, pawn g4, and then pawn h4 or queen to h4, knight to f4. This is a very interesting position. The Stockfish says that it's better for white. Then, let's say queen e7, pawn g5. He goes back h4, queen g3, pawn f4, f5, knight to f4, h5, g6. Very interesting scenario. If he goes rook e8, this is the most annoying move because black wants to capture and win a pawn. You can play f3 thinking that maybe your opponent will not take risks, will not play d5, will not play with the fire, just plays d6. Then, of course, we will be cool, but after d5 is absolutely fine. That's why I would recommend you to choose between these 2 lines after rook e8. This is where the risks are because we spent 2 moves with the queen. Our center is not that stable. So we can play either queen g3 and say, take my pawn, I don't care. And after knight e4, because if bishop c3, knight e4, we're just going to checkmate him. So knight e4, and then knight e4, rook e4, we will play bishop f4, and after d6, bishop d3, rook 8, knight f3, and we have a very interesting compensation for the pawn. Our queen is cool, the pieces are strong, the knight jumps to g5, the pawn can go up. We can try to do some Greek gift at some point, like check, and then knight g5 check, queen h4, maybe it will work as well. And it's hard for black to bring this bishop to help the king. If queen f6, there's always bishop to g5. We can have a decent game. There is an interesting game played by Nepomniachtchi versus Vallejo in 2007. Again, if you want, you can try to understand, analyze more with the Stockfish. I will not recommend you for that, especially on the level of like 1,000 to 1,500. So this needs to be down if your level is about like 2,000 or more. Like queen f6, knight h3. Just look at this. Here, bishop d3, and then suddenly knight d4. The rook is not hanging. There is check. King b1, knight e2. Queen f3, and then bishop a3, aiming for the checkmate. Takes, check. Here, captures. Here, check. Here, bishop h3. Now the bishop is hanging. Bishop e4, bishop g2. Queen g2, and then queen f4 check. Here, knight e4, and black has knight and 3 pawns for the rook. More than enough compensation. But this is already move 21st. Who's going to play something like this against you? You can always change some stuff. First of all, they need to memorize all of this variations lines. I don't believe 1 game out of 50. Statistically, we can go for it as white, especially if we will play blitz, if we want to have fun, we want to play a bit like Nazi chess. Usually they will play d6, bishop d3, knight f3. You have a good compensation. Again, don't listen too much to what the Stockfish says. Another interesting way for black is to play the move rook captures c4 instead of knight takes, after which we can do the move a3, because if knight takes, then he's going to get the bishop, and we don't have any compensation here. Black is just pawn up. So that's why a3 here, and then f4. and then bishop d3, then bishop f8, knight f3. Again, the engine can scream that this is better for black. Black has an extra pawn, but look at the position with human eyes. You have fantastic pieces. Very good. Knight can jump to g5, rook to e1, pawn to h4, queen is active. So at least you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces developed. He has only like 2 or 3. His king is in much dangerous situation, and you're just down 1 pawn. Don't you want to play this in blitz against equal level player? I definitely do. If I will play against another grandmasters like 2500, I would prefer white, especially in blitz. That's for sure. And the final moment, instead of queen g3, playing immediate bishop c4. That's the second interesting option for white. So we're trying to prevent the move d5, but we are ready to sacrifice the pawn on e4. If takes, and then rook e4, we have bishop to f6 takes, and then bishop d8. And he can lose some material. If black plays the move d6, again, there are different choices. Knight f3 is quite interesting, suggested by the Stockfish. One more time, takes. If rook e4, bishop f6. If knight e4, I believe it was like rook e1, trying to get the rook, or queen f4 was quite interesting as well, in order to attack the f7 pawn, so we can get some cool compensation here. And if bishop e6, you take, he takes, you do knight g5, goes back, pawn f3. So very strange lines can happen after the center game. What I would tell you, first, do not blunder your queen, please. Don't play the center game and then play queen c3. Say center game doesn't work. DrChessRob prescribed, again, a very bad medicine. So we're losing. We will quit chess. We will quit YouTube. We will not watch this channel anymore. Center game is bad. Chess is bad. Everything is bad. Not like that. Play queen e3. Do not allow him to play the move pawn to d5. Next thing, be very careful with the queen, because you will do lots of moves, and still the center can be a bit unstable. If black will play active moves, developing the pieces like this, like long castle, rook e8, we need to be very careful for the pawn on e4. But again, play active. Go for bishop c4, sacrifice that pawn with this way, or play queen g3, takes, bishop f4, d6, bishop d3. Forget about Nepomniachtchi Game versus Vallejo, and just play chess. Chess is fun. Chess is interesting. Try this, particularly like in blitz, rapid, bullets. You can do it over the board in classical games as well. Something refreshing. So instead of, playing the proper lines, which is like the Italian Ruy Lopez, we're trying to be a bit naughty. So this is like the continuation of interesting lines alongside like Vienna. Later we will talk about the Danish Gambit, the Scotch Gambit, and see what kind of interesting weapons we can create against the move pawn to e5. DrChessRob was with you. Our shift is over again. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that the center game will help you. Like, subscribe, leave your comments, and I will see you in the future videos about the other openings. So, have a good one.